So today we're going to be talking about should you rent versus own your home or wherever you're living in retirement. Coming up next. Hi everybody, my name is Dee Burks and this is Retirement Rescue. First of all, yes, I got the hair done. So before you comment, this is actually my natural color. For years, it's been very difficult for hairdressers to match a natural red. But I thought enough time had passed and there have been enough improvements in hair color that I would give it another whirl, because I've tried it in the past, didn't work well. So I took a picture to my hairdresser of when I was 18, before I'd ever colored or highlighted or done anything to my hair. And he matched it pretty darn close. And you can really tell it's my natural color because it actually makes my skin look not dead. So I actually can look in the mirror and feel like myself again, and that's a big deal to me. So anyway, I went back natural red, a little shorter for summer, funsy. But I know everybody's going to comment on it because it's so different. So I just addressed that right up front. But let's get back to our subject at hand. I received several comments on a previous video where I talked about, my plans are to own my home. I currently own my home. I'm going to be hopefully moving this year to a new place or next year. And it's going to be someplace that I can pay cash for and own. That's important to me. However, that is not the solution for everybody. And honestly, it's not even the solution for the same person as they go through retirement. When you are on the front end of retirement, like I am, I consider myself semi-retired, although I work so much, sometimes I think I'm not retired at all. But I consider myself semi-retired. But I'm in my 50s. One of the biggest benefits of owning a home is that it gains in value. And of course, with the housing market over the past, especially 5 years, 10 years, houses have truly gained in value. And if you're on the early end, like in your 50s, maybe even 60s, of retirement, that might make sense. You have time for it to gain in value before you need to be living off that money. For most people, their home is one of their biggest assets. And in retirement, you want to be living off the money from those assets. So if you're on the front end, it's kind of a no-brainer, that would be a great move for you. But even at that, it's not right for everyone. Everyone's situation is different. So let's talk about the situations, the pros and cons of owning and the pros and cons of renting. You will discover there's really not a lot of difference. Now, one of the biggest differences is if you're single or not. I'm single. A lot of people who are single are not that comfortable owning and being responsible for a home. It's a lot of maintenance, there's a lot to do, there's a lot of upkeep, and they're responsible for it. That's a lot more difficult if you're just one person. If you have that second person who can help, well, that's a little different situation. But when you're single, sometimes that's the determining factor. You really don't want to spend your retirement doing lawn work and upkeep on your house. You would rather go play, go have fun, or just enjoy your time without feeling that weight of responsibility. For many, many people, especially women, that is one of the best reasons to rent. You're not responsible for that property. You can move it anytime. You don't have to worry about selling it. You can come and go as you please. You're not responsible for a big yard. That is one of the biggest pros to renting. It also allows you to start living off your assets. If you have sold a home in the past, you're not putting that money back into another home. You can start living off that money. And for some people, that makes the difference between them retiring or not retiring. They don't necessarily want to carry a mortgage into retirement, and housing is so expensive now. Even if they rolled that money into a new house, they'd probably still have a mortgage, unless they're downsizing. But it offers them the opportunity to start living off that money. Another pro to renting is that a lot of apartment complexes have security. As you age, feeling secure, feeling like your vehicle is secured, having even a fence, a keyed entry, all of that comes with the building in many cases. And that is a big plus. Here again, especially for a lot of women. You don't want to be a target. You don't want to be a victim. You just want to feel secure, but yet you don't want to have to be responsible for creating that security system. That's another big plus of renting for many people. You also have people around. If you're a social person, if you live off by yourself in a home alone, you may get very, very lonely. Some people love having community. They love having an apartment complex. And apartment complexes these days offer a lot of amenities. They offer gyms. They offer all kinds of things, especially the over 50 communities. A lot of them bring in live music. They have dances. They have get-togethers. They have parties that you can attend. And for many people, that's a big deal. That is not a big deal for me. I don't want to participate in any of that. And some of you are like me, but still, there may be a situation where an apartment is better for you, or a condo that you rent. Any sort of rental situation is better for you. Hi. Gracie wants to say hi. Hi. Hi, Gracie. She's 12 weeks now. She's getting so big. It's amazing. Anyway, hi there. Now, those are just some of the pros. Let's talk about some of the cons of renting. One of the minuses is, and this is a big one for me, is loss of privacy. You've got people all around you all the time. And I don't like that. I don't like hearing other people. I don't like hearing voices down the hall. I don't like any of that. You also may not be allowed to have what pets you want. You may not be allowed to modify that apartment in ways you want. You just take it or leave it. Those are big cons to me. I like being able to do what I want with my space. I like being able to have pets without someone telling me they have to be a certain weight or they can't bark or whatever. Apartment complexes are getting better and better about that. But still, I love having a doggy door where my dog can go in and out, and I never have to worry about her. Not only do you have this extra noise in an apartment complex, you also have ever-increasing cost. And I'm going to talk about the increasing cost of owning a house too, but in apartments, you are always going to pay current market rate. And before someone says, oh, well, I'll just get low-income housing. Okay, number one, depending on where you live and in your area, they may have a waiting list a mile long. And honestly, some people die before they ever get off that waiting list. So if that's your plan, you probably need to investigate that and get on a waiting list well in advance. Also, a lot of these affordable housing complexes are not necessarily secure or in secure locations. That's a big concern for people as they age. How far is it away from medical care? How secure is it? All those things are big questions. And honestly, it just may not be an apartment you want to live in. Because honestly, a lot of them aren't kept as well as they could be. And so you have to make a decision. Is that really somewhere you want to live, and what are your options? And a lot of things I'm going to talk through in this video are planning ahead and having options. So if that is an option that you think you might utilize at some point, the low-income housing, look into it now. Do not wait. You don't want to be surprised to discover, oh, they're all full in your area. There's not a good place for you to rent. The waiting list is several years long. You don't want to make those discoveries when you really need a place to live. Investigate it now. Now, as I just said, you're going to be paying current market rate for your apartment. And if you are on a fixed income, that's going to become a bigger and bigger issue all the time. If you are planning to rent, in my opinion, it is always a good idea to have some way to vary your income. Either through an investment portfolio you have maybe, or working part-time, continuing to work. A lot of us love to stay busy anyway. Continuing to work can be a great thing for many people, and it allows you to vary your income. If you get one of those letters and suddenly your rent's gone up 15%, it gives you time to find another place if that's not going to work for you. But if you're going to be on a fixed income, that is always going to be an issue. Now, if you have a house It's the same issue. And let's talk about that for a second, because people have this assumption, well, I own a house, and let's just say your house is paid for, good for you, so I don't have any cost. Yes, you do. Maintenance is always going to be at current market rate. If you have to replace anything in that house, if you have to buy anything for that house, your appliances, everything is on your back. You have to pay for those things. You will always pay current market rate. But let's also talk about something like insurance. If you bought a house, let's say you live in Colorado Springs. It's a hot market. Let's say 10 years ago, you bought a house for $250,000, let's say, in Colorado Springs. Now that house is worth $1 million. Guess what? Your insurance has quadrupled. You're gaining that equity in your house. You're also paying much higher expenses. Your taxes will have gone up dramatically on that house. So even if you might not have a mortgage, you're going to be paying current market rates for those things. What I'm trying to get across here is it's not necessarily cheaper to have a home that's paid for. That is just something that some people prefer. Doesn't make it a better option for you, especially if you're single. A lot of these things change if you become single. If you have a spouse pass away, or for whatever reason you are single, things change. And what may have worked last year doesn't now work this year. This is also true if you also have a health scare. If you need to modify your house or move into something that is handicap accessible, it changes. Everything changes as you age. And what made sense for you at 55 may not make sense for you at 65, 75, or 85. People really get the idea that housing is set in stone. Oh, we have to keep our house. No, you don't. And it may not be the best option depending on how your life has changed. The important thing in retirement is to keep your flexibility. To understand, hey, if this isn't working, change it. Absolutely change it. If the house is getting too expensive for you and you want to downsize, change it. Sell that house, downsize. Do not let someone else tell you, oh, well, this is always the best option, so you should. No. It doesn't matter if even on paper something looks like the best option. If you are not comfortable with it and it's not something you want to do, then it's not the best option for you. For whatever reason, there's this idea that renting in retirement is terrible, and it's not. Your housing situation can and should change based on your needs at the time as you travel through retirement. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, please click subscribe, and I'll see you next time.